Hello everyone, it's me again, Serenity Star, and I'm so excited that today we're finally going to do another video games talk. I've been wanting to do that for such a long time now, and I really have to pace myself to remain relaxed and calm. I have played a lot of new games. Well, not new games, just new to me. So, I thought before we start, I would tell you which games I'm going to talk about so that you can decide at the beginning if you're interested or not. First, I want to show you the Harry Potter games that were made for PlayStation 3, which is The Order of the Phoenix, The Half-Blood Prince, and The Deathly Hallows, Part 1 and 2. But I actually don't have the first part. I never got to play the second part, which is sad. Beside of that, I'm only going to talk about PC games, since I find them easier and or cheaper to find. That's why I mostly play PC games, even though some of those games are also available for the PlayStation or Xbox, which I don't have. I have only a PlayStation 3 and a Wii. The Wii, by the way, I bought for one single reason, which was Zelda. And I don't see a way to not buy the Wii U, since I know there's going to be another Zelda part coming out for that, so I think one day I'll have to buy it. So, the PC games I want to talk about are Lucius, the trilogy, Gone Home, and then 3 games of a very different genre to me. I'm not exactly sure if it's a new genre, but it is newer at least. 3 games of this genre. It's Dear Esther, Either One, and Montague's Mound. I will dedicate some more time to this kind of genre because honestly I don't know yet how to feel about it. Then I'm going to talk about Still Live, Part 1 and 2, Sanitarium, which is a very old game, old but gold. Let's see, Cognition, The Blackwell Bundle, Jack Keane, Deadly Premonition. So, let's start with the PlayStation games Harry Potter. I actually played all of the Harry Potter games. Only I have these 3 because these are the only ones available for the PlayStation 3. The other ones were for PC or PlayStation 2. I'm not sure if the first one was even for PlayStation 1. Maybe some of you know that. So the first Harry Potter game I played on PC, and I liked it very much. It was very different from the ones that were made for the PlayStation 3. They were more like a jump and run game, but still I liked them very much because you had to find the wizarding cards and pretty bought every flavor beans, and you got to learn new spells. I liked it. Same for the second, the Chamber of Secrets. it was very similar to the first one. The third one became a little different, and I did not like it as much as the first two because Hogwarts looked very strange to me. It did not look at all like the Hogwarts from the movies, with the portraits, and it was fun to play. I have to say that. I mean, the dungeons you had to play were very fun and much more difficult than in part 1 and 2, but because of the difference of all the appearances and even the spells, I did not like it as much, though I had fun playing it. And Hermione's voice was strange. It wasn't Emma Watson's voice, if you know what I mean. Well, and then the fourth Harry Potter game, the Goblet of Fire, I started playing it on PC and I hated every single bit of it. Oh, gosh, I don't know what they did to this game. Suddenly you were like, it was more of a strategy game, then it was totally different from anything. It had nothing to do with Harry Potter. To me, it was like you had a fight and you could die by enemies and not, I don't know. I never played it until the end. I only played like half an hour of it and saw that I hated it and stopped playing it, which is very sad. Maybe I'm not the only one who hated it so much, because the Order of the Phoenix blew my mind, and it's forever one of my favorite games ever. And I have it here because I own it for the PlayStation 3. And I've been thinking about selling my PlayStation 3 for a long time in order to get either a PlayStation 4 or the Wii U or the Wii U. I can't afford both, obviously. But the only reason I'm hesitating is this game. Because I love this game so much. What I most love about it is that you have the whole Hogwarts castle like the same way you see it in the movies, and there is no loading time whatsoever. When you leave a room or leave a section of the castle, there is no loading time. It just is continuous. That gives me a feeling of freedom, as if I were really there. This is so awesome. And to me, I unfortunately suffer from anxiety. And when it's very, very bad, I just sit down and play this game, and it calms me down so much, because you have no fighting in this game, just some dueling, but no real fighting, no real stress. You just really feel as if you were at Hogwarts in the wizarding world. You can do spells, many different spells, and you have like chores to do, homework to give to your teacher, help friends. I don't know, I always feel as if I were really there, and that's why this is the favorite Harry Potter game to me. So here you see it says Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Here's Harry. And we have Ginny, Fred, George, Ron, Jo, Hermione, Neville, and Luna. And as we all know, it's the DA, Dumbledore's army, since Professor Umbridge refuses to teach them any defense against the dark arts. Here we have some screenshots, one of Voldemort, Dumbledore fighting against Voldemort at the Ministry of Magic, Harry teaching Ron a spell at a DA meeting. It looks like Stupefy, since Stupefy always has this red light. And here we see Harry, Ron, Hermione, and in the background some of the other DA members at the Ministry of Magic, trying to rescue Sirius. So I really love this game. Then, part 6, The Half-Blood Prince. It's written in German, obviously, you know. Harry Potter. Here he is. And he's in the cave where they find the fake locket. I also like this game a lot, but not as much as the Order of the Phoenix, because I don't know why they did this. You have portraits. In the Grand Staircase has a lot of portraits, and some of them are shortcuts. And in the Order of the Phoenix, they have a certain order, like, I don't know, on the first floor you have someone, and on the third floor somebody else who has a shortcut to, I don't know, the boat's house, or and in this one it bothers me that the order of the portraits is different, and not the same characters on the portrait lead to the same place. I don't know if I'm just very particular or something, but that kind of bothers me. Like, I mean, why would they change that? I don't know. And you had something, in my opinion, rather annoying to do, which was collecting mini crests. So every time something glowed, the bigger the glow got, you had to do this little spell, so a lot of mini crests would fall out of this object, and you should collect them. In order to get Hogwarts crests, there's a certain amount of Hogwarts crests to find, and I don't know. To me, this was rather annoying. And also, I thought that this game was rather short. I mean, I think that in 2 hours, I played the whole story through without collecting the crests and so on. But I mean, the main story is very short and very quickly done, so I think it could have been longer. Something pretty cool in here in this game is the clubs. There you have the dueling club, the Quidditch club, and the potions club, which was my favorite club. So you have to mix a lot of different potions. And you really, you have to pick up the objects and pour them into the cauldron, and then you have to stir the potion, or you have to heat the fire more. Sometimes you had to shake a bottle, so you could only pour the liquid if it bubbled. I liked it a lot. I found the Quidditch club very, very difficult. Basically, you had to fly through hoops in 3 different colors. When you were at a good speed, they were green. When you were slow, they became red. And when you were much too slow, then they became black and started blinking. So, and if you missed that one, then you would lose the game. Sometimes I found it very hard to catch the loops, to fly through the loops, because sometimes they were at a very short distance, one from another, and still very much apart. So I found that very difficult, but still it was amusing, but sometimes very frustrating to me. But all in all, this is a game I would say it is a good game, just not as good as the 5th one. And maybe there were people who found the 5th one too boring. I didn't. So they put more things in this one. I don't know. So yeah, we have some screenshots again of Dumbledore. Here we have Harry, Professor Slughorn. Here's a screenshot of the dueling club. Looks like the Gryffindor dueling club. And Harry flying. So this is probably either the Quidditch club or an actual game. Yeah. And then we come to the last one I own, and I don't know what to say about it. The Deathly Hallows Part 1. It is a good game, but I did not like much what they made of it, because what they made of this game is basically kind of a shooter game, only that you don't shoot with a weapon but with your wand. So I did not like that so much, because if you watched my other video games talks, I'm not so into games where you have to kill or shoot, fight people, and this is what made me a little disappointed of this game, because I mean, obviously there would be fighting in this game, but not only fighting, and you could die easily, actually. So basically all you had to do was fight. You had to fight Death Eaters, you have to fight Dementors, you have to use your invisibility cloak and sneak away from people. And what bothered me in the game is that there were a lot of parts that had absolutely nothing to do with the actual story. For example, there were kind of side missions. I don't know, you were at the headquarters and Hermione said, I don't know, I have to find something out. Why don't you go on some missions in the meantime? And then you like have to go, for example, to the Ministry of Magic. Only Harry, put on your invisibility cloak and save people from the prisons, from the cells in the Ministry of Magic. I mean, okay, but it has nothing to do with the actual story. Not from the book, not from the movie, it's just made up. Or at one point you have to go to a cave with dragons, and so you basically have to hide from the dragons. I don't even remember why you were there, what you had to do in this. I guess it was basically always saving either muggles or muggle-born that were captives of the Death Eaters, of the Snatchers. But so you were in a dragon's cave and had to hide from the dragons or they would fry you. There were a lot of spiders in the forests and pixies. So you had to fight off all kinds of enemies all the time, which sometimes was difficult and annoying to me. I mean, when it was coherent with the story, it was okay to me. Like when they went to the Ministry of Magic disguised, because that was part of the story, that was okay to me. And in the story there was fighting, so it was okay to me that there was actual fighting. But I was really bothered by all those side missions that had nothing to do with the story. Maybe a kind of filler or something, because otherwise the game would be over too soon. I don't know. Well, so I never played part 2. I want to, though I know it's the same style. So let's just get to show you. Here we have Harry Potter running away in the wilderness. And Voldemort's eyes. Like, I'm gonna find you. And here we have Harry. I guess here he's at one of his side missions. It looks to me, you see there are Death Eaters on their way. Here he's flying, and there are Death Eaters flying around him. I think that's at the beginning of the game. The game like starts with you fighting off Death Eaters. And here you're at the Ministry of Magic, fighting off the Death Eaters. I mean, the only spells you get in these games are actual attacking spells, and of course one defensive spell, which is Protego as always. So you learn Expelliarmus, Stupefy, Confringo, which is it's kind of an explosion, but it takes a long time to load. You actually learn Wingardium Leviosa, but I think I never used it in this game because I always had to fight and I could not use. I at least wasn't able to use it as a defensive spell, like to shield me from something. And there were potions you could find. Anti-doxy or anti-pixie, I don't remember the name so much, that you needed to be able to kill the pixies or the doxies. Pixies, I think. The blue ones, I think they're pixies. Explosion, Peruvian darkness powder, I don't know, potions you could throw at enemies that were kind of bombs or gas in a shooter game. So it really is like a shooter game, only that instead of bombs or things like that, you use potions, and instead of guns, you use spells with your wand. That's basically it. So it's a good game, but it's not so much my taste of games. All right. Then let's get to the PC games. And the first one I want to talk about is one that I mentioned in the 2 other video games talks, and I always forgot to talk about it. I don't know why, because I loved these games, and it is Lucius. And in this game, maybe I should warn you before I start talking about it. If you are a very extremely religious person and feel that it's a sin to talk about the devil or something like that, then maybe you should not listen to this and should definitely not play these games. If you're not, everything's cool. Because in this game, you play Lucius, the son of the devil. So you are a little boy, and your family is rich. So you live in a big mansion. And one night, Daddy Satan comes to visit you, and that is kind of the first time you find out that you're the devil's son. And he tells you basically that he wants you to kill everybody in the house, like your parents, all the servants, everybody who's there. And there are a lot of people there. There are mom and dad, there are the maids, there's more than one maid. There is the mechanic in the garage, there's the gardener, the cook, the bartender, the uncle, I think that's about it. Maybe there are even more than that. Yeah. And the thing in part 1 is that you cannot do much. You basically you have to sneak around people. Sometimes they are not allowed to see you, and there's no way of running away from them, which I found a little annoying. So you had to hide and to find a way to get into places without anybody seeing you. So Yeah, there was a lot of stealth involved in this game. This was the part I did not like so much. And you had to be kind of, yeah. You had to be very creative in the way you had to kill the people. In part 1, there usually was only one way to kill, which was kind of shown to you before, and then you had to find a way to do that. Like, I don't know, electrocute somebody or something. And this was, I don't know how to put it without sounding like a serial killer or something, but I was astounded of how much I enjoyed myself accomplishing all those murders. But I loved it. I loved this game. Part 1 was okay. I mean, you learned more skills from Daddy Satan, like mind control, and at some point you learned how to put things on fire with your mind. But then, funny enough, in part 2, which is like, you really continue the story in part 2. You got out of the house, you're at the hospital. Of course, nobody suspects you since you're only... Everybody thinks that there was some kind of serial killer in the house who killed everybody, and you were just a poor little victim. What I found weird is that you lost all the powers you have learned before by Daddy Satan. So you lost your mind-controlling powers and the putting things on fire power. And then you were at the hospital. And this was my favorite game. You're at the hospital, and now you have this whole freedom as of how to kill people. I sound horrible, but it's the game is. And you have, like, you can throw things, for example, at the fan so that it would fall down and cut people's heads off. It is not very brutal, though. I mean, you don't see blood splattering or things like that. You could poison people. For example, if you find donuts somewhere and, I don't know, you find poison or pills, you could put them in the donuts. And funny enough, every time you throw food at people, they like go, oh, go and eat it. I don't know, and then they would die of the poison. You could electrocute people, so you could carry like gallons of water, and then you could wet the floor and, like, if with a loose cable or something, electrocute people. Or you could put electric battery cables at faucets, so every time someone would wash their hands, which is quite often in a hospital, they would get electrocuted. You could put people on fire with, for example, gasoline. You put gasoline on the floor and then throw your lighter on the floor, and people would burn to death. You could open an elevator shaft and then put some slippery liquid on the floor so that people who would walk there would slip all the way down the elevator shaft. So there are just lots of ways to kill people, and I loved it. You still had to hide from people, or people weren't allowed to catch you, but you could run away from them. So it wasn't like, oh, you saw me, mission's over. You always had the chance to run away and hide. Yeah, and the main purpose of part 2, if I'm not mistaken, is first, your father survived in part 1, so you have to find him and kill him once and for all. And there are babies that have been born, and you are supposed to do something to them, mark them or something like that, so they would become bad people. And all of them, if you look at their names, you know that they will become terrible serial killers or sick people in the future, because we know them, like, for example, Hannibal. Yeah, and in part 3, you're out of the hospital. You're in a town, and I don't really remember what you had to do there. Now I remember. While you were in the hospital, you found out through newspapers that there is another son of the devil around, and you, Lucius, do not accept competition. So you go to find that son of a gun, only that this son of a gun seems to be a lot stronger than you are. So, do you know in the Bible there's the apocalypse, and there are these apocalyptic signs? So you are supposed to accomplish those signs of the apocalypse, like those insects eating all the crops and so on. And your objective is to do all that before the other son of the devil does. And all the people that are in your way, of course, must die. And in the end of the game, you have to battle with the other son of the devil, and defeat him, so that you're the only spawn of evil. So all in all, I loved all 3 games, but in part 1, you could only kill in one particular way, and there was a lot of hiding and no running away possible, which I did not enjoy that much. But in part 2 and 3, I found them very, very entertaining. I swear I'm not a bad person. I know that this is just a game. I would never do those things to people in real life. So, just to make that clear, you had many ways to kill, which I love, because you could be creative in a very evil way. Unfortunately, especially in part 3, I experienced a lot of bugs, like especially at the end while fighting the other son of the devil. Like on one spot of the game there was supposed to be a gun, which was there, only I could not take it. It was a bug. It was not possible. So this is the only thing that bothered me a bit, but it was not that bad. It was still playable. Right. So thumbs up to Lucius. Then I played a game. And game is maybe too much for this. It's called Gone Home. And I did not like it, because this game is a first-person interactive storytelling game, which sounds good to me. You play a woman named Caitlin. You were 21 years old, and you're returning home from spending some time abroad. And actually it is a new home, because her father inherited a house from her uncle. So she's actually never been living in that house. So it's the first time she does not know the house. but it's her new home, which she's not so enthusiastic about, but okay. She comes home and nobody's there, but she finds a message from Samantha, her sister, and she seems to have run away. And now basically you run around the house trying to find clues about what happened to Samantha and why she ran away. So you basically explore the whole house, which is kind of okay, and you find even secret passages, secret compartments in the floor and the walls and stuff like that. And then you find messages in some places of Samantha. Well, and then you go exploring and finding new clues, and then you get to a place of the house where you find the whole truth of why Samantha ran away. All right, and that was the point where I thought, oh, great, finally the game's going to start. We're going after Samantha or whatever. It was the end of the game, and I was like, what? I got to the point of finding out everything about Samantha pretty quickly, and so I have to say, this is a very bad game. I mean, I had fun exploring the house and so on for the short time it lasted, but when you think the game is finally going to really begin, it ends. So, thumbs down for Gone Home. Did not like it. And now we come to this new genre I talked about earlier. As I said, I don't know if it's really new, but it's definitely newer because it was the first time I encountered it. And I kind of don't know what to think about it yet. And I don't even know what this genre is called. I'm kind of, with the first one especially, which is called Dear Esther, I'm struggling with the name video game. I don't even know if you can call this a game because it is kind of an anti-game because you do kind of nothing. You have no interaction in this game with anything. All you do is walk around. That's it. You can look at things and that's all. You cannot take things, you cannot manipulate objects. There are no riddles to solve. There is really absolutely nothing for you to do but walk around. So I'm not sure if you can call this a game, but okay, let me tell you what this game is about. You are a man apparently stranded on an abandoned island. Maybe this island has not been abandoned always, because you sometimes find traces of some kind of habitation, like tents and abandoned huts. Yeah, burnt documents sometimes, but it's all very hard to understand sometimes. And this man, he constantly talks to himself because there's nobody with him, and he refers to this person as Dear Esther, as if it's kind of like a diary entry, as if he was reading from a diary or a letter to this person, Esther. While you walk around this island, he keeps saying new things, of things that happened, maybe, because you never know for sure. I have to say that the environment is beautiful, and it has kind of something poetic about it. At some point you go through caves that are like very colorful, not colorful, they are like glowing in different colors, especially blue, and it looks very beautiful and poetic, but still it took me a long time to accept that there's just nothing to do. And this game has an ending, but well, I couldn't say that I understood much about this ending, and I tried to read about it on the internet, and basically apparently this game is totally open to interpretation, because every single person had another kind of interpreting this game, like the story. And I cannot say that I have an interpretation of my own. Maybe I am not artistic and poetic enough to get it, but this game lasted only an hour. Like in an hour it was done, and there is no way to have it last longer than that, because you do nothing, you just walk around. You have to find your way to that cave, that's it, and you have to find your way out of that cave. Your objective is to find, there is a light. Now I don't remember if it's a lighthouse. I think not. I think the lighthouse was another game, or a radio tower. There was a light from some building that your objective was to get there. And once you get there, it's the end. So I don't really know if I liked it or I didn't like it. I think if I had spent money on this game, which I haven't, because this game was in a magazine. So I bought a gaming magazine, and this game was in there like for free. If I had actually spent money on that game, maybe I would have been kind of pissed. But since I haven't, I guess it was worth the experience because of the beautiful environment. Of what I read on the internet, many people loved that experience a lot. Probably more artistic and sophisticated people than I am. Sorry. Okay, so that was the first and the least enjoyable of this genre, I would say. Then the second one even has a very similar name, and it's called Ether 1. This game, I have to say, is okay. It's much better than Dear Esther, because there is interaction, finally. Though the genre with the environment and the interpretation stuff is also there, but I mean, you can call this a game, because I don't think you can call something a game where there is no interaction at all. Well, so you are a man who works in an institution called Ether 1, which is meant to heal patients with mental conditions and diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. And there is kind of a machine, a seat, and a machine with which you can go into the patient's subconscious to find certain memories and make the person remember. At least this is how I interpreted the whole thing. And in this game, you have to find memories They are in form of red ribbons to find, and in order to find certain memories you have to kind of unlock them. For example, there is a board in the school, a blackboard, and some words have to be added to it so that this memory would be unlocked. Kind of things like that. So you actually had things to find, you had riddles to solve, or for example keys to find in order to open a door or stuff like that. So I am okay with calling this a game. Though there are no people, you are alone going through, and you have this woman talking to you. She's kind of your supervisor, like telling you what to do in the patient's subconscious. You go through mines, you go through a city, you go through a factory. I think that's it. Yeah, and you have to find all these things out, and I enjoyed myself playing this game, though I think at some points it is also open to interpretation, and the ending was a surprise to me, but it was kind of touching. I think the ending, I don't think that it's open to interpretation. I don't think there are many ways to understand this. I think it's pretty clear, and this is something I liked.